There we are.
Mhm.
We're live on Facebook. Good evening. My name is Jocelyn Beaudette, and I'm here from the Ottawa Shambhala Center to lead us through an experience of meditation this evening. So welcome to everybody who's joining us. And the theme that I've chosen for this evening is powerful emotions on the cushion. So what happens, what do we do when we're meditating and maybe a floodgate opens and we're overtaken by powerful emotions? So I'm going to provide you with some instruction from our tradition, our Buddhist tradition, on how to work with that, and then also bring in something from the world of psychotherapy as a contemplation. And we can try that as part of our second meditation. So to begin, I'd like to just to settle in and begin with maybe 5 or 6 minutes of meditation. So find your place on your cushion or your chair, and some points to pay attention to as you're taking whatever posture. The goal is to be awake and alert and comfortable so that you're not in any sense of pain. Your bones are stacked in a way to support you and to allow you to be present to yourself and your experience. So the instructions are, if you're sitting on the floor, to have your pelvis tilted forward so that your knees are lower than your hips. And then the spine rises up out of the pelvic girdle with the shoulders back and down and the ears over the shoulders. The back of the neck is long, the back of the head reaching up, the crown of the head reaching forward. So that tilts the chin down and back a little bit and helps so that where our head is not tilting forward, putting a strain on the spine. So in this position, we should be able to be supported and comfortable. The arms hang down and the palms on the thighs with the elbows back towards the rib cage so that we're holding ourselves in a dignified and supported posture. If you're sitting in a chair, then have your seat forward so that you're not resting into the back of the chair. This encourages the alertness because you need to be conscious enough to have your muscles engaged. And then the feet are flat on the floor and hopefully not crossed. It just helps with the groundedness. Maybe a slight little half smile, encouraging a positive frame of mind. Your eyes can be closed if you like, or if you're okay to have your eyes open, the gaze is down about 2 or 3 feet ahead of you with a soft, unfocused gaze, no strain in the eyes. And then bring your attention to your body breathing. The object of meditation can be on the breath itself or on the sensations, movements of the body as you breathe in and out. Noticing the shoulders rising and falling, the chest rising and falling, the rib cage expanding out in all directions. Three-dimensional breathing. And if your attention wanders, as it will, the nature of the mind is to be curious. Then when you become aware, simply bring the attention back to the body breathing. We do this with gentleness, kindness, compassion towards ourselves. Welcome back. So now that we've had a chance to settle, I just wanted to make a note about the eye gaze. There are many different styles of meditation, and all have their benefits. And in our tradition, in Shambhala, we typically meditate with the eyes open. And this is a byproduct of our meditation is meant for people who are out in the world. And it's a way of including the world in our meditation so that there's an encouragement to take whatever we experience in meditation and the benefit out into the world. So we don't make a hard line between the act of meditating and the act of living in the world. And that applies to the topic for tonight, and that the way that we can work with emotions on the cushion is something that can also be brought into our daily life and hopefully can be beneficial to working with strong emotions in all contexts. So from a Buddhist perspective, the Buddha taught about the Four Noble Truths, and the first of which is that if you are alive, you will experience pain. And that's not the same as all life is pain, which is sometimes there's that misinterpretation. It's actually just a recognition that in the act of being alive, we will experience pain. It's just acknowledging reality. What we don't have to do is create suffering. And so that is living skillfully and learning how to work with emotions helps us to not create secondary suffering on top of the pain that we will inevitably feel. So that's one of my favorite adages is pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And so from a Buddhist perspective, I'm going to take some readings from Pema Chodron, who is a Shambhala nun who has written many books and does a really marvelous job of translating Eastern concepts into a Western way of understanding, being an American herself and having, I think she was ordained a nun back in 74 or something like that, a long time ago. So she talks about the three ways of relating to difficult circumstances and working with difficult circumstances as a path of awakening and joy. And the three ways of doing this are firstly to let go of the struggle. She calls it no more struggle. And this method arises out of the experience of shamatha meditation, the style that we're using, the shamatha vipassana instruction for meditation. And it's a way of transcending dualistic thinking, of approaching all of what we experience as either being something we want or something we don't want, something that's good or something that's not good. So instead of judging all of our experience under those two really broad banners, we approach life as it is what it is, and we bring a sense of equanimity to it. So when something arises on the cushion, and it will, if you spend enough time meditating, whatever you're living will become part of your meditation. When we spend a lot of our day avoiding feeling things that we don't want to feel, and then suddenly we put ourselves in a position where we eliminate all those distractions and give ourselves lots of space and think, oh, here I'm going to find my bliss. And then suddenly everything that we've been avoiding comes rushing in. And we might then find ourselves without our usual defenses. So what do we do? The guidance, the instruction is to experience it as any other stimulus that comes to us. It could be a sore knee or the sound of, and I should have told you that there's, if you hear sound in the background, I have two cats that were tussling on the couch. So they were bouncing around for a bit there. That just becomes more of the same thing. It's just all stimulation. It's all neutral. So it helps us resist the urge to pass judgment on our experience. And then we can just be present to what is without creating a storyline that might divert us, take us off, and add that other layer of suffering on top of pain that we might be experiencing. So when there's pain in the leg, or there's a reminder of something that we're anxious about, notice it and allow it to be there. Can you just be present to what you're experiencing without having to judge it? The second approach is to use poison as medicine. So, just finding my place here. She calls this poison, whatever negative or strong or powerful emotions that we're experiencing. Instead, she calls it fuel for waking up. And in this second approach, when suffering arises, we let the storyline go and we breathe it in. Not just the anger, resentment, or loneliness. So I'm quoting Pema here. Not just the anger, resentment, or loneliness that we might be feeling, but the identical pain of others who in this very moment are also feeling rage, bitterness, or isolation. We breathe it in for everybody. This poison is not just our personal misfortune, our fault, our blemish, our shame. It's part of the human condition. It's our kinship with all living things, the material we need in order to understand what it's like to stand in another person's shoes. Instead of pushing it away or running from it, we breathe in, connect with it fully. We do this with the wish that all of us could be free of suffering. Then we breathe out, sending out a sense of big space, a sense of ventilation or freshness. And we do this with the wish that all of us could relax and experience the innermost essence of our mind. So the idea behind this is that everything that occurs is not only usable and workable, but is actually the path itself. We bring everything in, all of our experience, even boredom, even restlessness, even pain and suffering. We bring it all in because it's all part of our experience and it's all workable. We can use everything that happens to us as a means for waking up. We can use everything that occurs, whether it's our conflicting emotions or thoughts or our seemingly outer situation, to show us where we are asleep and how we can wake up completely, utterly, and without reservations. The third approach is seeing whatever arises as enlightened wisdom. We hold the perspective that we are already awake, and the perspective that the world we are in is awakened wisdom. So it's a real practice to see the world in that way, and it really shifts the perspective on our own experience, to feel that whatever is happening is part of our awakening process. There's um, a practice about experiencing everything as if it's conspiring to bring us to enlightenment. What a beautiful way to see the world. Even the red lights of the car in front of us that are hitting the brakes and causing us to startle awake for a moment, everything is conspiring to wake us up. In fact, the people who annoy us the most are probably our best teachers for waking up. So we bring a sense of gratitude to those people who get in our way, the stumbling blocks that we would normally kick aside and grumble about. Instead, we practice being grateful for that irritation that will give us that momentary pause so that we can reflect and consider where we are, recognize that we're alive right now. So those are the three, the advice for how to work with difficult emotions. And it comes from a book called, I'm not sure if this is going to come across, but it's When Things Fall Apart. Heart Advice for Difficult Times by Pema Chodron. So I'm going to present a model for working with emotions that comes from Tara Brach, who's a psychotherapist and Buddhist. And I work with this a lot in my practice because I find it very simple to remember and really hits on the key points in a way that's easy to remember when you're flustered, when your mind, everything goes in your mind. This is easy to remember. So the acronym is RAIN. So when something comes up, usually it's a charge. You feel a charge. Sometimes it's like a kick in the gut or something that grabs your attention, a difficult thing for you to experience. The first thing to do is to recognize, to pause, instead of just rushing through it, instead of pushing it away out of our awareness or denying that we're experiencing it, recognizing it. And the body sensations and emotions can be a concrete way to pay attention to what's happening to us. So notice how the emotion lands in the body, notice any sensations that are associated with it, whether it's a heaviness in the chest, tightness, a rumbling sensation in the gut, tension across the shoulders, taking note of those things. And with the recognition is a sense of honoring what we're feeling in the moment. The second step is allowing it. Can we just be with what we're experiencing? Can we allow it to be here with us? Can we connect with the part of us that's willing to pause and to make space for it? Is there a part of us that can be present to what we're feeling? And we bring a sense of compassion and a sense of curiosity. And curiosity has a beautiful way of lightening what we're experiencing. When we're curious about things, then we shift in our mind in how we're experiencing things. And we tend not to take things with such heaviness. The I in RAIN is to investigate. And we do that with gentleness and compassion, not a harsh light of inquiry that's about finding out what's at the bottom of this, but investigating gently. And again, bringing in that curiosity, a sense of kindly curiosity. So you can ask yourself things like, what most wants my attention? in this? Does this feel familiar? Is there something that, have I been in this emotional place before? And you might think back to where you first experienced this feeling. What does this painful part want in this moment? What is needed? What kind of support does this part of me that's feeling this pain, what support does this part need right now? And then the last step is N for nurture. Call on the compassionate, wise part of ourselves to offer what is needed. So after the investigation, after you've asked yourself what is needed, then the last step is to provide that for yourself. This is a form of self-care. It can be a form of parenting ourselves. What did we maybe not get that we need now? And as adults, we can give ourselves. The N also stands for non-identification, which is the substrate under which all of these steps takes place, that we don't identify with whatever we're feeling. We allow a bit of distance so that we observe the emotion rising. And then if we don't cling to it or we don't push it away, the natural movement of emotion is to then dissipate and move on. And then we've taken the message from that emotion and then it just passes. That's the ideal, anyway. So what I was hoping to do then is to go back into a meditative place, start with a few minutes of settling with some shamatha meditation, focusing on the breath, and then to walk you through contemplation of allowing an emotion to arise, maybe thinking about something that might be mildly irritating, that provokes a bit of response in us, and using that as a way to experience what this process might be like. So finding a good posture, bringing your attention to your breath, noticing your body breathing. Have a light attention on the breathing and a sense of presence to whatever you experience. we'll begin a period of contemplation using the RAIN model for processing emotions. Begin by bringing forward to your mind an experience that is provoking, but within a very mild range, so it's not going to be too upsetting. And take a moment to feel into the emotion that this brings forward. The first step using the acronym RAIN from Tara Brach is R for recognition, recognizing what it is that you are feeling or that you are feeling something. Taking a pause, acknowledging it. And then allowing. Can you allow yourself to be with this feeling, even though it might be uncomfortable, even though it might be unwanted? Can you be present to your own experience in this way? Now that you've given yourself the opportunity to simply feel, simply be with the feeling, we can bring in our cognitive faculties. We can bring in our curiosity, and we can investigate, what is this feeling? What is this emotion for us? What might it be connected to? Does it have a familiar ring? Have we been here before? What might it be asking of us? Is there something to address? What part of this is asking for our attention the most? And then the nurture step. Once we've identified what is needed, can we give that to ourselves? Maybe it's reassurance. Maybe it's acknowledging that boundaries are needed, that a relationship needs to be repaired, that we need to honor something in our own experience that we've been avoiding. Whatever it is, we call on our wise self to provide us with whatever is needed. Can we forgive ourselves? Can we be compassionate with ourselves? And at the end, we let it go. We allow it to dissipate, trusting that if it needs to come up again, life will bring it to our attention again. But for now, we've completed a process and we simply let it go. And we'll return to a few minutes of meditating, and then I'll ring the bell again. We can take some time for discussion if you'd like to hang around a bit, and Colin is going to turn off the live streaming so that we can have some relaxed, private conversation. Thank you.